Hi everyone, I am Bob Goosmann with my partner Davey. We are the owners of Davey Goosmann Realty here in Mansfield. As promised, we are starting off our video programming that we're going to do about once a week. And what we'll be doing is discussing really anything that is related to real estate. But since this is our first week, we're just going to take a look at a couple of issues on contracts, mainly one. And Dee is going to talk about that right now, and it's about what? The seller's disclosure, right?
Thank you, Bob. It is about the seller's disclosure. And I actually learned this when I was about to make a mistake. Number 7 is property condition. Tells about seller has to have utilities on, have to allow inspections. And then you get the option of putting the buyer has received the seller's disclosure, or the buyer has not received the notice, but within 3 days, or whatever the number of days you want to use, after the effective date of this contract, sellers shall deliver the notice to the buyer. Simple enough. If the buyer does not receive the notice, the buyer may terminate this contract at any time prior to the closing, and the earnest money will be refunded to the buyer.
That's big, and that's so big, and I don't think a lot of agents realize it, because people tend to work it out even after the 3 days. They say, hey, you didn't get me that seller's disclosure, and then they end up doing it. But this puts that buyer in a position like, you know something, it's 1 day before closing, I'm out, and they can go back to this.
Yeah.
And there's also this other part is even if they do get the seller's disclosure to the buyer, but it's after that amount of time, what happens?
Well, they can still terminate right up till closing. If seller delivers the notice, buyer may terminate this contract for any reason within 7 days.
That's the difference, within 7 days.
After buyer receives the notice, or prior to the closing for any reason.
Whichever occurs first. So
yes.
There's just gives them a little leeway there, but still, the bottom line is if your seller does not get that seller's disclosure to that buyer, you basically are going to be holding your breath until closing, because for the most part, that buyer can back out of that contract. So what do you usually do?
Okay, so what I do with that, when I get one like this and it says 3 days, when I send the contract back with the initials that we've accepted, I mark buyer has received the notice. I scratch out the 3 days, and then I send the seller's disclosure with the information, so I know that the other agent and the buyer has the seller's disclosure. And then I ask them to initial, proving that they have it. That way, we're not running into those number of days.
Yeah.
And another real quick part that I get asked a lot, down on paragraph D, it talks about the buyer accepts the property as is. So, have you ever gotten a contract and the seller said, well, I don't want to do any repairs, it's as is? Well, that's a little bit nebulous, because the property is as it is right now. So they have the right to have an inspection and then see what they want done. You can mark buyer accepts the property as provided by seller at seller's expense. They shall complete the following specific repairs and treatments. So let's say the buyer sees there's a fallen fence and he wants that fence repaired. So that's where that specific treatment goes in. And then it becomes contractual, and it's not subject to an inspection.
But they still can get the inspection as well.
Of course, yes, of course.
But that is part of the contract once they write something in there.
Right.
Yeah.
So those are the little 2 things we want to cover today on contracts. That's on page 4. If you have any questions, call us, email us.
Yeah, if you have a topic or something you're not sure about, And some people are afraid to ask those questions. Just, yeah, email us and let us know, and maybe we will cover that topic.
Yes. Thank you for watching.